I want to talk about envy and jealousy and tell you about an old friend of mine. Now, I've never been one to engage in too much hero worship. If somebody was to ask who my favorite actor, actress, rock star is, well, a lot of talented people come to mind, but I never had anybody's posters up on my wall. And every time I've felt a twinge of jealousy or envy for somebody else, it seems that in retrospect I look back and think, oh, no, that wouldn't have been good. They actually didn't lead a life that was better than my own. Now, I'm sure there are some people who do lead a charmed life, and lucky them. But every time I've been envious of somebody, long term, it turns out that I'd rather be me. So I used to have a friend back in high school, and he was a pretty high energy person. He was quite a cat. He played guitar, he was in a band, and a very creative individual. A lot of fun. And I would hang out with him and his bandmates, and I was sort of the geek of the band who would hang out with those guys and do recordings of their sessions, help them with live sound, and so forth. And we had some pretty fun and wild times together. And my friend was very much into writing interesting, pushing the boundaries kind of music. And he was kind of a loose and fast guitar player, kind of in that Sex Pistols sort of style. He was a decent player. I don't think I would say that he was an amazing guitar player, but he was a pretty good songwriter and came up with a lot of cool ideas. And he didn't know much about production or recording. And so I would record their practice sessions, and we'd listen to those tapes back, and he'd often say, "Oh, you got just a great tone there," or what effect did you use, and how did you mic that guitar? And so, I would show him all the techniques that I used to record the band or do sound for the band and so on. Well, as the years went on, he went through different bands and created a lot of good music and became known as a powerful creative force and started producing other people's bands as well. And so he developed the skills of being a producer, recording engineer, got involved with a record label, and made quite a name for himself. Meanwhile, I had moved out of state to the other side of the country, and we just sort of went our separate ways and kind of lost touch with each other. While I was out of state, I saw that he'd become kind of a big deal. In his own little corner of the music industry, he was very well respected as a influential music producer and recording engineer. And he had a handful of pretty big name acts that had sought his services out to work with. After about 15 years or so, I moved back to the region and thought, I gotta look up my old bud. It's awesome that he's done so well. And so I shot him a note saying, hey, congratulations on your success. That's really cool. It's good to see. It'd be great if he had the moment so we could, get together, chat about old times, and I'd really like to see your production facility if you'd give me a tour. Yeah, he got back to me pretty quick, and he shot me a very short email saying, hey, yeah, those were good times. Rock on, his name. He didn't extend an invite out to see me or to get together, show me his studios. I was a little disappointed in that. I was hoping that he would have the time. I was a little bit upset, a little bit jealous maybe, thinking, I taught this kid everything he knew. Now he doesn't even have the time to talk to me. And he's taken that knowledge that I passed on to him and become a big name in the industry, whereas I'm still just slugging it out with some unknown band and some unknown bar, and nobody knows my name. Now, that's not entirely true. I was one of the group of somewhat respected sound engineers, but still, I wasn't getting magazine articles written about me. Did I teach him everything he knew? No, of course not. Maybe I gave him a little push start, but honestly, I'm sure he worked really hard and cultivated those skills, and he probably deserved every bit of those accolades. But I was a little disappointed that he didn't extend an invite to come over and show off his production facility. I probably muttered under my breath, "prick," or something when I saw that message. But he was an interesting guy, a good guy. And so I was a little bit envious that he had achieved such success. A little envious, thinking, probably incorrectly, but thinking, man, I'm 10 times the producer engineer that he'll ever be. And here he is getting all these magazine articles written about him, getting interviews in prestigious places and all these accolades. And it ain't happening to me. Well, I'm sure that's not a fair assessment. But then a few years after that, I read in the news that he had gotten sick. And not too long after that, he had died from cancer. Died at an early age, before the age of 50. Really tragic, really sad, you know. Made me feel bad for him. It's like he had built up all of this around him, his family, his business. Seemed like, you know, he was really on a good track, and then to be taken down by cancer, really sad. Made me look at it and say, you know, for the times that I've envied this guy, thinking, you know, he has it all and it's not fair. That should have been me. Well, it shouldn't have been me, but it's easy to say that. Looking at it now, going, I'm glad I wouldn't have been able to trade my life for his, because he's gone and I'm still here. I still have time. And that's more precious than any of our little accomplishments, because time has opportunity associated with it. The past is burned in. And so in retrospect, all that envy was just silly, because I'd much rather be playing my song than his. And I think about just about every time I felt some envy for somebody else. When I look at the larger picture, I shake my head and go, oh, no way, no way. Like when I was a little tiny kid watching other kids on TV, you know, programs like Nickelodeon or Mickey Mouse or Brady Bunch or Partridge Family, or these shows on TV that have, you know, kids under the age of 10, and I was like 7 or 8 or something. And I'd watch these TV shows and think, wow, it'd be so cool to be on TV as an actor. I could do that. I mean, if they're doing that, I could do that. Well, obviously, I couldn't do that, because I don't have the look, I don't have the charisma, I don't like to sing and dance, and I'm not very good at taking direction, so I think I would have washed out in Hollywood pretty darn quick. But you step back and I look at what happened to these child actors, and I think it's largely sad. I mean, they've had some pretty tough lives, grueling work schedule, and they're surrounded in a toxic environment. And we've seen so many of them, as the years progress, get into all sorts of negativity and trouble. their lives fly off center and crash, and you'd think that they would have it all, but they don't. And so you don't want to trade your mundane life for a life of excess, because it rarely turns out so good. Anyway, so enjoy what you got, be thankful, and have a great day. Take care.